Can you imagine your life where money is your friend, working with you to achieve all your dreams and desires? If you struggle seeing money as your friend, then join Kathy Cook Noble, financial advisor and educator on understanding how your money can work for you. It is possible. Now, here is Financially Speaking with Kathy Cook Noble.
Good afternoon and welcome to the Inspired Choices Network. You are listening to Financially Speaking. I am your host, Kathy Cook Noble, and every Monday night we get together and we talk about something financial, whether it's a concept or a question or confusion that somebody has asked me about. In my daytime job as an advisor and a bookkeeper, I get all kinds of questions, not just about investing and, what's this Bitcoin and all this stuff. It's all about what's the difference between mortgages? What's the different kind of bank accounts? All the daily financial stuff. And we, as usual, always believe and will always believe that you're capable of understanding your own stuff. And that's really all you have to do. The important thing is understanding what you have, not what your neighbors have, what your cousins have. And really just having a comfortable understanding, either with assistance from someone or on your own, because you definitely are capable of understanding it and you're capable of doing it yourself if that's what if you choose to do. And what we do here at the Inspired Choices Network is we make an effort to look at all areas of people's lives. My particular area on Monday nights is finance, because somebody's got to do it. It might as well be the one that enjoys it. So that's why they pick me. But what we do here is we take the holistic look at people. And if you're looking for some support, either with helping with your kids, with helping with relationships, your business, even training your pets, reach out to one of the shows and the hosts on Inspired Choices Network, because we do make a very conscious effort to cover all the topics that we need to cover so that everyone has a very happy and healthy life. Because believe it or not, it all works together. It's not just about when I have money, I'll be happy and I just need this much money. It really is about being happy, healthy, physically healthy, mentally healthy, financially healthy. They all come together. And the very, very cool thing that I find is once you have part of it together, if you've got the right mental attitude, the money seems to find you. And if you have money, then the mental attitude seems to come faster. So if you're reaching out and you see we're missing something or there's a little bit of a void in the network, then that means there's a topic there that you might be the expert on. And you should plug in and have a call with Christine, our fearless leader here and producer and owner of the network, and also the host of the Inspired Choices Network show, because she will guide you, even if you think you're not meant to be on radio or TV, because sometimes you just have things happen like your video freezes up and you have to deal with that some nights. And that's what we do here. And that's what we're doing tonight. I'm going to, wink in and out, I think, by the looks of it. But that's what happens when we're relying on technology. So hopefully you'll stay with us and join us, and even in the chat room. And if there's something that you're thinking you have a question about, then enter it in the chat room. If you want to give us a call, that's awesome too. We'd be happy to talk to you. But we're also on over 200 platforms after our live show. So you'll easily be able to find us. And if there's something you think, what did they say? Or what was that email address Kelli-Ann gave us, who I'm going to introduce to you in a minute, then you'll be able to go to the show and onto the network and you'll be able to find it, no problem. So tonight I have a very special guest, and I've been very lucky this last couple weeks because we were doing a series on small business. And anyone that knows me knows that I'm a very strong believer and supporter of family and small business, because a lot of businesses that are small businesses are family related. And the pandemic that we just celebrated the anniversary of, seems kind of weird saying, but it's true. We are in a situation where there's an awful lot of small businesses that have been struggling and really feeling the pain, not to take away from the health care part of the pandemic, but we certainly have an economic, almost pandemic of sorts, where the small businesses are really struggling. And we've had this great opportunity to deal with and host as guests some of these small business owners. And tonight we're going out to the East Coast in Canada, and we have a very unique and special kind of business because Kelli-Ann is a Newfoundland-based artist, and her life is about being a professional artist. And she's going to share with us some of the big things she learned in her 15 years as a full-time artist in the art business. And she's going to offer some helpful insights for artists and those wishing to begin a career in art. And this is a particular industry that is probably seeing a lot of changes. And I'm going to ask her about some of these digital changes that people may or may not be hearing about in the news of late, especially in the financial news about the way art is going in the future. And Kelli-Ann is our in-house expert tonight, and we're going to pick her brain on all this stuff. So I'm very, very excited to have you, Kelli-Ann. Thank you so much for joining us, and welcome to the Inspired Choices Network.
Thanks for asking me. I feel privileged to be here.
We have listeners, just for those of you out there that have been on our show before and listened in, you know that we're based in Canada, and Newfoundland is a few provinces over from where I'm sitting tonight, which means it's earlier in time. Isn't it where you are?
Yes, we're an hour
earlier
and a half,
in time. Yeah,
we're an hour and a half later.
Yeah, I'm earlier. I'm before time than you are. Right. And we have some listeners that are across North America in general. And I want everyone to be really, really excited about the fact that you can be in Newfoundland, but your art can be everywhere. So this show is literally for everybody, because the stuff that you're going to share is going to be for our broad understanding, but your actual art is also something that can be sent all around the world. And I'm excited for that, because it's a unique sector that you are in. So maybe what I'd like to do, if you wouldn't mind, I want to turn it over to you, and you can just start sharing a little bit about how you knew you were an artist and when you started really getting into art.
Well, let's see. I mean, it started pretty much when I was born. I was always able to draw, and I've been creative since the beginning. I never really thought much about it, though. I just did what I did. I didn't really consider myself an artist or anything like that. And then after high school, I had to, it was time to go to university. And, my parents knew if I got out of school for even a year that perhaps I wouldn't go back. So they highly suggested I pick a program. So I started going through the Memorial University of Newfoundland, catalog. And I started reading about different programs just to see really where I thought I would fit. And I came across the fine arts program here in Newfoundland. And as I started reading it, I was like, wow, painting, photography, drawing, sculpture, art history, all that. And I was just like, wow, I honestly didn't even know that was really a degree program, but all of it really spoke to me, and I decided I was going to do my fine arts degree. So off I went to Corner Brook on the west coast of Newfoundland, and I got out there and I realized I didn't really know what fine arts meant until I got there. And all the pretty pictures I had been drawing, really a lot in photorealism, and they were really there to crack me open and show me new ways and really show what fine arts is all about, like all the divisions of it. And all the profs were, working artists. So I really got to see what fine arts was all about. And over the 4 years, I really got to assess whether or not, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? Or, it was a very formative time in my life. And I had always heard, being an artist, and I always heard, oh, starving artist, ha ha ha. And I'd be like, ha ha, ha, yeah, right. Okay. I've heard that a lot of times. And then in the fine arts program, we discussed a lot, and, starving artist came up over and over again. So by the end of the program, I really thought, I'd heard starving artist so many times. I said I suffered from SAS, which is starving artist syndrome. That's what I started calling it. And because I suffered from SAS, I had determined that I was never going to be an artist full time because I didn't want to be a starving artist.
Yeah.
So as soon as I got out of fine arts, I kind of went, okay, it was a great experience, met a lot of great people, all the profs were great. I really got to develop my craft where I never would have, on my own. I got to fully immerse myself in, all the creative outlets there. But after fine arts, I got out and I was like, okay, I don't want to starve for my art. So I decided to go in the interior design direction. And I kind of left the fine arts behind, but I now realize all these years later that you can't leave your art behind when you're an artist. There is no leaving it behind. It follows you wherever you go, no matter what. And then, so I did my whole interior design career, and I had an interior design company, and I worked in the design industry all across Canada. And then I had my interior design company in Halifax, and then I met this guy. And this guy's now my husband, 19 years later. And we decided to move in together about a year later. And then as we're moving in together and all my boxes showed up, and I start, pulling out my stuff, and I pulled out one little etching that was from my fine arts days. And Besh, my husband, he takes it and he's like, oh my God, what is this? And I was like, oh, that's nothing. That's just, an etching that I did all those years ago. And he was so taken with it that for the next 3 years, he never left me alone. And he just kept saying to me, like, why don't you do your art for yourself? He was like, don't worry about anything. You could just set up your studio and it'll be great. And, I'll take care of this part and you create. And I was just like, that's an offer I never thought I would have heard in my life, and I was very appreciative of it. But then I couldn't do it. It's like I felt like I still needed to have I'll just say in quotes, real job, and that my art couldn't be, like a regular part of my life. It'd just be something I would do on the side. But he was one that actually convinced me to be an artist after 3 years.
Wow, that's amazing. And that is actually going to lead me into the question I want to ask you. We're going to come up to our first break. We have a couple breaks tonight. And I do want to ask you, because getting started, I'm guessing, like anything with business, that's the hardest part. And once you get started, how do you get going? And how important is it for you to have that one person that was encouraging you and supporting you, and how much of a change that would have made and what direction you would have gone? So we're going to take our first break of the night, and we have Kelli-Ann all night, and we're going to talk to her about, I know there's a lot of people out there that I think suffer from your starving artist syndrome, which is a great term, by the way. I love it.
Yeah, I like that one too.
I think we have a lot of people out there that have a lot of talent, that they do set aside for that real job kind of mentality. And what you just said speaks exactly to what I deal with every day. It's about mentality, and people who think they're never going to have enough money, or they can't pay off their debt, or they can't save for the future. A lot of it is about mindset. And
absolutely.
Yeah, and that's exactly what I want to ask you, because having somebody like your husband that was able to be supportive like that, we're going to ask you how much and how quickly that changed your mindset. So don't go anywhere. We have Kelli-Ann tonight, and we are going to take our first break. And when we come back, we have Kelli-Ann from Newfoundland, our artist in the house. You are listening to the Inspired Choices Network. This is Financially Speaking. I am your host, Kathy Cook-Noble, and we will be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Are you a subject matter expert? Are you here to share your expertise with an audience waiting to hear from you in only the way you can deliver? Are you ready to have your voice amplified across the airwaves? Inspired Choices Network has a global radio platform streaming to millions of people across the world. Professionally produced and supported by an accomplished team every step of the way, you can broadcast from anywhere in the world, knowing your voice matters, and we ensure it is delivered with ease and efficiency. Eager to hear your message, the world awaits. Contact us today to become an Inspired Choices Network radio host. Email become a host at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You're listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. And tonight we are here with Kelli-Ann, and she is an artist from Newfoundland, Canada. So we're going to share she was just sharing about how she got started, which I always find really fascinating because it's always funny to me when you talk to people and they say what they're doing for a living, but what they really have passion for is not usually what they're doing for a living. So
That's true.
Right? So I'm always amazed at how people get from, well, I took that job because I have to have a job, to now I'm doing what I absolutely love. And that's where we were just leaving the conversation off. You had just got actually a very special support from your husband and started doing your own art for yourself for, you said about 3 years it took you to get on board with that.
Yes, to agree to it.
Yeah.
Yes, I had mass resistance to doing my art, even part-time, really. But he talked me into it. Like every time he would see my artwork or I'd do a doodle, he was like, you just have to do that. Just do it. And I was like, no. And then finally, after 3 years, I just thought, okay, the right opportunity came up. I was working for a publishing company and they actually went out of business. So I had the opportunity then. I had lots of time because I was, a free agent. Oh my gosh, I'm losing my headphones here. So I was a free agent. So I decided that, okay, maybe this was the opportunity for me to finally explore it, despite all my, negative thoughts towards, being able to actually make a living or not. I just said, okay, I'm going to take a stab at it. He was posted in Base Borden in Ontario, and we lived in Stainers, and just above there was Collingwood, which was a very great spot. Like everybody came from Toronto on their way to the Muskokas. So I knew it was like the perfect market there for artwork.
Mhm.
But I knew if I just set up, in my, in a room in my house, in Stainer, nobody would see my work. Social media was just starting in 2006. So that hadn't really become a thing. So I knew I had to get out there somehow so that as I was creating, people would see my work and I could market and produce and figure it all out, sort of on the fly, and people would actually see my work. And then there was a potential that I could make a living at it.
Awesome.
So what I did was I said, okay, well, I'm going to find a spot that I think is inspiring, and I'm going to set up a studio in public, and then I'll be accountable. Like I'll have to show up, I'll have, like definite hours, and then I'll be out there and people will be able to see my work. And one day we were at a beautiful French restaurant on the main street of Collingwood, and the sun was shining in through the big front windows, and you could smell, Chef Patrick's chocolate croissants, and we're sitting on the leather couches by the front window. And I looked around and I just went, you know what? This is very like, and French music was playing. And I said to Bash, I'm like, you know what? I could really set up here and in the front window, and it'd be very French and very romantic. And he goes, all right, put together a proposal and send it to him. And I was like, oh, no, I'm just talking out loud. I'm not really planning on doing anything with it. And he hounded me. And then I just went, okay, well, I'll put together the proposal. And the next day I went in and I talked to Ruth and Patrick, the owners, and I proposed that I set up a 4x7-foot studio in their front window. And I would paint, I think it was 4 days a week, a certain time to a certain time. And I also told him I would give him a cut of my, a cut of every dollar that I made there.
Oh, nice.
So that it would be worth it for them as well, besides just the, the marketing value of it, which, by the way, the marketing for both of us together was excellent. Like it was a good partnership.
Yeah.
So I proposed it and they said yes right away. So that was like on a Friday. And they said, well, why don't you start Monday? And I was like, oh my God, what? So over the weekend, I had to head down to Toronto. I had to buy, everything that looked like anything that would make me look like an artist. So I needed like an easel, I need a chair, I didn't have anything. And then on Monday morning, I was set up. And I decided, okay, what's the best thing I could paint while I'm there? And one of my specialty is architecture, because I don't know, I always say I see the faces in buildings. They all have like little eyes, with the windows.
Very cool.
And so I've always seen, the faces in houses and buildings, and Collingwood was so beautiful that I started, so I just started painting right across the street, and it was the first painting that came out. And I kind of have this twisted style as well that wasn't, common in that area. And I just hoped for the best that it would kind of take off. And I was so nervous, and I had to like very much fake it till I made it. And I just started painting. And I also had to figure out over the weekend how much to charge. Like if anybody ever asked me what I would have to do, or how much is a painting, I had to say something. And the hardest part as an artist is, figuring out how much to charge. It's hard to account for all the time that goes into a painting. And you have to make a living at it. Like if you're going to spend 20 hours on a painting, you can't charge $500. Like you're not going to make it. If it's your full-time gig, you have to price accordingly.
Right.
And I'll always tell artists, whatever you think you should charge a bit more than that. Push yourself outside your comfort zone, because even then you're probably not charging enough to account for your your time, your process, like people think, oh, how long did it take to paint it? But it actually took, 12 hours before that to sort out how you were going to approach it. And, like there's no accounting for the amount of time that goes into artwork.
Right.
So Besh and I over that weekend just sort of came up with what we call a PPI, so paint per inch.
Nice.
So that we can figure out like some method of how do you price. I looked around at other people's work, and it was like, okay, this person's been out there way longer than me, so I wouldn't be that high, but this person hasn't been out there as long as me, so I'll maybe go in between there. And I made up a price that I was pretty uncomfortable with, in case anybody asked me about that one painting when I started. And luckily I did work it out. And this woman walked up to me while I was halfway done. And now, meanwhile, a lot of people had come up to me before then, but this one woman was like, I need to have this painting. How much is it? And I was just like, oh my God, it's go time. Okay.
Wow.
Just say the words, don't sweat, don't stutter. And I was like, $1,500. And I tried not to like go, oh my God, I said it out loud. And she was like, great, I'll take it. And I was like,
nice.
Oh my God, maybe I should have said more. And then just at that same moment that I finally, I said it out loud, and it was like, okay, she confirmed that she thought it was worth it, which was great. It's good to have another person that's, confirming what you're faking.
Yeah.
And then another lady came up at the same time, and she said, oh, I'd like to buy that painting when it's done. And then the other lady was like, no, I already bought it. So it was kind of like what I call, like a little bidding war, but they weren't bidding, but it was very exciting for me. And it confirmed that, maybe I could make it.
That's awesome. And
Yeah.
That's actually, for any artist, that is truly inspiring, but I think for any business person that is truly inspiring, because, and I know Christine is our network owner. She is actually our producer tonight, and she does a lot of work with businesses and mindset. And I think, and if she wants to, post something or chime in, she can. But I find that the biggest thing that it holds people back is their mindset of valuing themselves and valuing their time. And
Yes.
And I can see in your world, in that particular market, how very hard it is to put a value on it, because you're talking 100% of it is time, where it's easy for you to go into a retail store and say you're selling a shirt or pair of pants. You can put a value on that fairly easily because you know what the costs are and all that. But when you're dealing with your time, and I know, and I don't do business coaching, but I know business coaches that suffer from that same thing, because they're like, how do you value your time? Because that's your art, is really your gift of being able to go through helping them organize their business and advance them and so forth. So that's very, very cool and very tricky. And
it's tricky. It's a fine line.
Do you find now, after this many years, that it's easier for you, or do you still sometimes have a little bit of hesitation on how you value your artwork and price it now?
I am pretty good at it now. I've been at it a long time, so I have, a thicker skin, and I'm used to saying prices that I'm not necessarily comfortable with, but seem to have worked over the years. So I just keep going as if I'm normal.
And you are. That's awesome.
But it's a lot easier now. A lot easier. And I think I've learned my value over the years.
Yes.
Like I didn't know it in the beginning, but I think I know it now.
Absolutely. And I do want to, because I know we're going to do this later in the show too, but I want to share your website, because for anyone who hasn't been on it, to check it out. Now, again, remember, I'm a finance person. So usually our sides of the brain are, one brain would make one good whole, each of us bring it to the table. But I can tell you the artwork is spectacular.
Thank you.
It is beautiful. And I have to tell you, and everyone's going to have to go and look at it themselves. It's kapb.ca. Go there and have a look, because the Pink Ladies painting that you have there, I love bleeding hearts. They were one of my favorite flowers in the garden. And I remember being a kid and how they had tell the story of the doves when you bring it apart and all. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And that is the first thing I saw when I opened up your website. And I was like, that is so cool. And it's
love
beautiful.
that you love that one.
It's really cool. So anybody you have out there listening, you got to go www.kapb.ca. You got to check this out. And very, very cool paintings. And for anyone not familiar with Newfoundland, because it's not a huge place in Canada, this gives you a really nice perspective of what Newfoundland looks like. It's very, very cool. So for everybody out there, you got to check out this website, because there is some super cool stuff there. I want to ask you though, what would you give someone now as advice on how they would prepare for their art career? Because you've been there, for a few years now, and you had a pretty supportive influence in your life. What would you tell someone now to prepare for their art career?
I would say, a good partner, whether in business or life, can make or break a lot of things. So if you've got someone that you can really bounce ideas off of and be a little bit of a objective for you, it's super helpful. But if you're doing it on your own, just know that, make it your own. It's your choice. You can make it up the way you want it. Your art doesn't have to own you. You own it. So, make it the way you like it and make a good life for yourself, and don't suffer for your art. Make your art.
Absolutely. That is great advice. We are going to take our second break. I can't believe it already. Don't tell Christine, we might have gone over. Okay. So we're going to take our second break of the night. And when we come back, we're going to share a surprise with Kelli-Ann, or Kelli-Ann's going to share a surprise. So don't go anywhere. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network with our very special guest is Kelli-Ann, and she is in Newfoundland tonight. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. Money is complicated, right? Actually, no, it's not. You don't have to be a trader on Wall Street to get a handle on your money. TV shows often instill fear to keep you believing you can't understand it or do anything yourself. If dealing with your finances brings up a lot of other F words, then you need to read All Ladies Should Use the F Word, A Guide to Loving Your Finances by Kathy Cook-Noble. Kathy helps you take control of your finances and leave the other F word, fear, in the dust. This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. And I am super excited that I have a very special guest tonight. And her name is Kelli-Ann Pye-Beshara. And she is an artist from Newfoundland here in Canada, just a few provinces over. And we've been talking about how she got into art and how important it is to have it's important to have a good influence, but I think you'd probably agree that it's also important to believe in yourself
Oh,
and
absolutely.
value yourself, like you were talking about, and not be afraid to charge for your art, because it's not just about having a gift where you can, draw or paint or sculpt or whatever the case is. It's also a gift in the sense, and it's also training on how to put it all together and be disciplined and organized and have the, pay for the right materials and the right supplies, because there's a big difference between, going to the dollar store and getting a paintbrush and being a true artist in a lot of ways. So I think that that's a very important point that you've made for everyone listening, which I think is wonderful. I do want to ask you about how the being in a pandemic has changed things for you, but we also were talking about before the break a little surprise that you were going to share, and I want to turn that over to you on how and what that is.
Well, I just finished my latest painting, which is called Naughty Neighbors. And so it's a pretty cute painting. And I have an 8x10-inch matted print of that painting. So if you would like to email me, the first one to email me will win the print, and I will mail it out to them. And my email is art@kapb.ca.
Perfect. So everyone needs to email Kelli-Ann, and do they enter the draw to win, or what?
Yes.
They enter the draw to win. So
Yeah.
everyone has a chance to win her new print called Naughty Neighbors, and she will send it out to you. Guys got to go check this out. You got to see her website. You got to email her. You miss out, you're going to regret it. And Easter's coming. It's a great Easter gift too. Don't be afraid to do that. And my birthday's in May, just saying.
Noted.
Just throw that out there. But no, email Kelli-Ann, absolutely, for sure, and get in on your chance to win one of her prints, because you will be very happy that you did. You have until the end of March. Don't wait. Don't hesitate. And it's email art@kapb.ca. So check it out as soon as you can, like right now. Christine, not you, because you got to still do the show. So Kelli-Ann, I want to ask you about advice that you give people for starting a business in art, but also maybe starting it now, and how pandemic has changed art, how it's changed your business, and in general, how are you seeing art in the future?
Well, I guess I'll start by just maybe talking about how it hasn't changed my business very much, because years ago I decided that I did not want like a brick and mortar type of store, where I sell my own products or artwork like that. I also decided not to go with a gallery way back in the beginning. I thought, I'm just going to do it on my own. I'll sell my originals myself. I'll sell my prints myself. And I really focused online. Even though back in the day that wasn't really the way to go, especially, when you come from fine arts, it's very like you get with a gallery and that's all you do, and you stay very exclusive, like there's many different ways you can set up your art business. But I knew sort of the fine art way was not quite right for me. So I just decided to do it all myself. Now, I'll tell you, that's a lot of work.
Oh yeah.
It's not for the faint of heart. So make sure you love it if you get into it.
Very good.
Yeah, like any business, Kathy, as I'm sure like the setup of a business it's a lot. Like, you're the marketing person, you're the bookkeeper, that's if you are a bookkeeper. I know artists are, known for not being great at looking after their money. And I knew that in the beginning. So I said, I'm gonna look after my money, because I'm not gonna fall into that, that trap that everybody does, not just artists, but, you think, oh, I'll just, do my receipts later. I'll, I'll take my HST out later. I'll do all that later. And then at the end of the year, it's just a shit show. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I've seen some of those receipts.
I bet the big bag or box of them.
Yeah. It almost looks like abstract art coming in.
Yeah, that's right. Just a big old ball of mess.
Yeah.
So, I mean, really managing your money right from the beginning is the way to go. And if you can't, then hire somebody right away so you don't end up, so far down the rabbit hole that you can't get out of it.
Exactly.
So because I focused online for all these years and I've been setting myself up online and I've really been focusing on social media, and I did, courses at Memorial University for digital marketing. Like I really went online because I didn't want to be paying rent. I didn't want to, feel the, I don't know, it was too static for me to just, open my own store or even go in with a gallery. I don't know. I just felt I really wanted to do it my way. But my way was really hard in the beginning because I really felt I was going against the fine arts ways. I decided to do digital prints, and, coming from fine arts, it's like, if it's not, lithograph, hand pulled, it's not, in my mind, it wasn't real art. But after a while, I was like, oh, screw it. I got to do it my own way anyways. Like, I want everybody to have my art who wants to have my art. I just didn't feel it was like an elite thing I wanted to dabble in, like I wanted my aunt to have it in her kitchen if she liked it, so I went digital, I didn't do limited edition, that type of thing. So being online, and then the pandemic hit, I actually thought I would not get another sale because who was going to care about art when, the shit is hitting the fan, sorry. But it was actually the opposite. And we talked about, knowing your value as an artist, that it develops over time. Once the pandemic hit and I started getting all these orders because people were like, I just want the things that make me happy and I'm not waiting any longer.
Wow.
And people were spending a lot of time in their house and they were doing renovations. So I know the pandemic has been very difficult for artists of all sorts, but I feel very lucky, and I'm glad I set it up the way I did, that my sales went up, and I was really happy that I was making all those people happy when they're stuck in their house and not feeling so good. And I got messages from like all over the world that, even if they didn't just buy a piece, they would message me and just tell me how happy their artwork made them. And
Nice.
So I've had a really beautiful client, artist, I don't know, like happy vibe going on. It's been very enriching, I will say.
Oh, that's awesome. That's so good to hear, because there's so many doom and gloom stories, and I know there's more to come, but it's always nice to share something very positive and inspiring like that. So that's amazing, and that's awesome to hear.
Yeah.
I have to ask you though, you said, because you were a bit ahead of yourself with the digital stuff. And I'm just now, from the financial side, we just saw last week the first NFT painting sold for $90 million. And it's an artist named Beeple. I don't know if you know him, but they've got this non-fungible token. It's the NFT paintings they're doing. And they're a digital painting on the blockchain technology. And from the financial side, I think it's fascinating. I'm also amazed because it's a one-of-a-kind, original. It's a unique digital item. They're not interchangeable. And this one sold last week, and it was the first time, and it went for $90 million. It's mind-blowing from not just a financial point, it's like mind-blowing, period.
Yeah, many level mind-blowing.
So I want to ask you about this. We have to take our last break of the night, but we come back. I want to get your take on it from a professional point of view. How is this digital art going to go in the future, and how you see that evolving if you do? So we're gonna talk to Kelli-Ann, and we're gonna get the insight on the future. So we're taking our last break tonight. Don't go anywhere. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network, and I am your host, Kathy Cook-Noble of Financially Speaking. We'll be right back.
Too many of us get caught up in the unreal lives of reality television and complete to acquire stuff, which is setting us up to accumulate lots of debt. We're scared, confused, and don't know who to talk to. By tuning into Financially Speaking radio show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble, you'll learn tips you can use to improve your financial health, which in turn can improve your overall health and make for a very happy life. Live a life you can afford and enjoy. It is possible. Listen for Financially Speaking radio show every Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. This is the Financially Speaking Show with financial advisor and educator Kathy Cook-Noble. To participate in the program, join our live studio audience in our chat room at InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. You can also make the choice to ask or comment by email by sending to Kathy@bookkeepplus.ca. Now back to the program.
Welcome back, everyone. You are listening to Financially Speaking on the Inspired Choices Network. And I have had the best part of an hour. We're almost done. I know that's our last break, but I've had the best part of an hour with Kelli-Ann and talking about art and her art, but also how she got started and advice for people on how they would get started. I want to ask her just a little bit about the digital, which I was fascinated by, because I will be the first to tell you, I'm not in any way someone that would present as an artist, but I can appreciate the talent and the skill that people have. And I was amazed at that art that went for 90 million with people from, this is his artist name. Yeah, and it took him 12 years. And he was talking about this digital and how he'd been working on it. And then it's all through the blockchain technology, which is how Bitcoin got started in conversation about the technology. And I just was wondering your thoughts on that. Where you see it going. And then I also want to ask you, for you, what would you change if you had that opportunity to go back to yourself at a younger age? What would you change, if anything?
Oh, such good questions. Well, I'll address the digital art part of it first. I think digital art is just taken over the nation now. I mean, before, there was a separation between, I'll say everything else and digital art. And, like even for a while, like photography wasn't necessarily considered a fine art. There was still a bit of separation. And then the same thing with digital, back in the day, it was like digital art was not an acceptable fine art. But nowadays, I think anything goes. I think if you're passionate about it and it's part of your creativity, you just let it rip, because anything goes.
And there's proof that people are willing to pay for it.
Yeah, that's right. 90 million.
90 million.
Just happened.
And it was an auction. It got bid up. So yeah, it got bid up. So it was actually kind of cool because they had a video of him watching the auction. He was kind of excited when he.
I bet he was.
A little bit excited, and I was like, "Well, what's the capital gains on that?" But we'll figure that out later.
Yeah, that's right. A little calculation. Yeah.
But is Kelli-Ann, what else would you say that we haven't talked about that would be important to share, either with your clients or with the artists in general, on what to do, what to get started, how to keep motivated, because a lot of it is independent work. So what would you share with them for people in that position?
Oh, well, getting ready for the show, I made all my notes of, things I would love to tell artists. And if I read them all out, it would take me maybe like 15 minutes, but I'll try to narrow it down. Okay. I'm just here scrolling through them. Okay. When you get started, and this is what I would tell myself in the beginning that maybe I didn't know back then, but I know now. It's a difficult thing to do what you love and make a living at it. There's a fine line between still being like truly creative for yourself and then receiving money for it. There's a like, I don't know, there's a real like rocky start, or it was for me anyways, maybe not for other people, but I had to really balance like truly creating the way I wanted to. And, you kind of just got to hope you find your crowd that are going to love it, and you'll be able to make a living and keep creating. And like sometimes you have to do what you have to do in order to be able to do what you want to do. So I would also say, lots of people are, at a job that maybe they don't love, but because they want to really do their art full time. But there's a way to transition from your job into your art. And sometimes there's a crossover point where you're doing both. But don't worry about it. You don't have to like jump off the cliff and just like quit your job and start your art, even though you can. And that's another way to do it.
Yeah.
But like there's a way, and like if you're in a job that you're not loving, just know that what you're learning in that job will help you later in your art, whether it's sales or organization or how to put together a proposal. Like down the road, you may want to apply for grants. You could be in a retail business where you're going to learn about retail pricing, wholesale pricing, how to price your work so that if you wanted to sell to a retail store, that there's room for a markup for products. Like just know that what you're doing now, if you're working in a restaurant, you're working on customer service, you're working on how to relate to clients, how to talk to people. Like it's okay that you're not fully immersed in your art right now, because you're learning what you need to know down the road.
Absolutely. And that's great advice. Actually, that's great advice for any business.
It's true. Yeah.
It really is. It really is. I think fear is a huge factor in what's holding people back from a lot of things, actually, not just from pursuing their artistic side, but even just their business side, or just trying something new. So that's great advice, actually. Really good advice. Thank you. Super excited to have had you here tonight. I was really looking forward to it. And I'm so disappointed that my camera is wigging out on me, but maybe it works out to be a good thing. I don't know.
I doubt it.
But maybe we can get you back again. We'll get you back again. And I'll have my camera and my internet working together with me.
Well, I'd love to be back because I have like 200 other points I'd love to tell artists.
Let's do that. Why don't we do that? And you know what? Actually, I would love to have you back to talk about artists and the business side of things. And if it's okay, maybe we can even have you show us some of your art. Like I can see a little bit in your background, and I know we can see it on the website, but maybe we can have a little presentation too.
That'd be great. I'll take you for a walk down my gallery just outside my studio here.
Oh, perfect. We will set that date up.
Okay.
And I want everyone to remember that they're going to email Kelli-Ann at art@kapb.ca and get their names in the draw for their chance to win an original print, which will be something that they will thank themselves for later. So everyone out there, make sure that you get your email in there to Kelli-Ann and meet her.
Yes, so by the end of March.
By the end of March. Don't wait.
I'll do a random draw.
That's right. So no excuses. You're all forewarned. Get your names in there. Christine, wait till the show's done. Thank you so much, Kelli-Ann. We have really enjoyed you on the Inspired Choices Network. Join us again next week. We are going to have another guest and have our conversation continue about small business and how they are coping with this pandemic. We'll see you next week.
Thank you for choosing to listen to Financially Speaking Radio Show. Kathy Cook Noble will return next Monday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 3 p.m. Central, 2 p.m. Mountain, and 1 p.m. Pacific on InspiredChoicesNetwork.com. We hope you'll join us. Until then, have the best week of your life by making the choices that bring you all that you desire.